Here is our first example. We first want to calculate the discriminant. The discriminant will then tell us what kind of solutions we have, and then we will go and we will find all of the real solutions. So we're not going to be answering anything with imaginary numbers just yet. So in order for us to determine the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac, I need to know what a, b, and c are. But before I can determine what those values are, we first need to get 0 on one side of this equation so that we can see a, b, and c. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides of this equation, just so this is written in standard form. So now that we have this in this form, we can see that a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2, and c is equal to a negative 8. We need to take the signs of those values with us. So now we're ready to calculate the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. And I'm going to plug in all of these values. So plugging in for b squared, we're going to have a 2 squared. Then we're going to subtract 4 multiplied by a, which is 1, multiplied by c, which is a negative 8. 2 squared is 4. Be careful with your signs because we have these two negatives right there coming together. That will make a positive. And then I'll multiply the 4 times 1 times 8 to give me a 32. And 4 plus 32 is 36. Because 4 plus 32 is 36, and 36 is a perfect square, that tells us that we can and we should solve this equation by factoring. So to factor this equation, I'm going to just rewrite it right here. X squared plus 2x minus 8 equal to 0. I want to break this equation up into two linear factors. What's very important starting off here is that a is equal to 1. Because a is equal to 1, I know that I have to have a factor. My factors have to start with x and x, because x times x is the only way you can multiply together to get x squared. So I have the x and the x there, and because a is equal to 1, and only because a is equal to 1, in order to fill out these two blanks, we are looking for two numbers that multiply to c, which is negative 8, while also adding to b, which is a positive 2. So we need two numbers that multiply to negative 8 and add up to a positive 2, and those numbers are a positive 4 and a negative 2. Because positive 4 times negative 2 is negative 8, and positive 4 plus negative 2 is a positive 2. So now we have our equation factored. We're going to continue on from there, but I want to have a little side conversation, which is that if I told you that a times b was equal to 0, what could you tell me? Well, if a times b is equal to 0, either a is equal to 0 or b is equal to 0. This is called the zero product property. If we have two factors multiplied together equal to 0, either one of those factors can be equal to 0 and we'll have a solution for that equation, which is exactly what we have going on right here. We have two factors. We have the factor of x plus 4, and then we also have the factor of x minus 2, both being multiplied together and set equal to 0. So we're going to set the first factor of x plus 4 equal to 0. That will give us a solution. And we'll also set the second factor of x minus 2 equal to 0. And now I'm going to solve these two linear equations individually. I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides of this equation to see that x is equal to negative 4. And then I will add 2 to both sides of this equation to see that x is equal to 2. And keep in mind, you could always check your answers by plugging in these x values back into the original equation, and you should be getting 8 on the right-hand side of the equation. You could also plug them back into this equation, and you would get 0 on the other side of the equation. So our two answers here are x equals negative 4 and x is equal to a positive 2.